All right, welcome everybody to the December meeting of the Texas Teams community. And as always, want to thank the DIR for their ongoing partnership and helping us to run this community and get the word out. So thanks to Mark Leavenworth, who is here with us today, as always. So thanks, Mark. Thanks to you and the DIR.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
All right, excellent. We have a lot of fun today, a lot of really great content to share and some really neat updates to share with you, a little bit of magic to share with you. And so we're going to just we'll kick off in introductions. Then we're going to have the Microsoft Surface update with Magic Mike, Mike Rogers. And then stories from the field. We have Chris Bunton from the Texas Workforce Commission, and he's going to be talking about their rollout of Teams Phone. I think he's also going to talk a little bit about the successful Tech Talk coffee break that they've been running for over a year now, right, Chris?
Yeah, actually over 2.5 years. We started this before COVID, and it just happened to be right on time and worked.
That's fantastic. Some really great information there. And then we have Staci Mildenberger, who is one of my peers and one of my teammates. And she is going to be talking, and we've got a gentleman named Angel Aviles who will be joining us, who is one of our deeply technical specialists. And they're going to be talking about enhancing and extending Teams to include SMS and text messages, and talk about some of the use cases that they are seeing and ways that we're able to do that with one of our partner technologies. As always, we don't let partners join the call. We've kind of been sticking with that for almost 3 years now. So Staci's going to be talking about someone that she's working with and how they did that and what can be done. And if you're interested, then we can set up a follow-up meeting. We can go into more detail specifically for you, either on Teams Phone or on how we integrate text and SMS messages into Teams. As always, if you are interested in being on the list, now I've confessed to you guys many times that I am still so old school on this meeting request. There is no back-end system. It's just a meeting request. And but if you sign up on this community interest list, then I at least have a record of your interest, and I will add you to the recurring monthly meeting, and then I will update that each month with an agenda. And sometimes I get to it the week before, sometimes I get to it the day before, but it's always good. So just show up. It'll be great. So with that, and without further ado, we are 4 minutes ahead of schedule. I would like to introduce Mike Rogers. And Mike, do you want to share your screen, or how do you want to?
I will. Yeah, I'm going to take over if that's all right.
Absolutely. Please go right ahead.
So thanks for the opportunity. I did bring a little bit of magic with me, so I hope everybody is ready for that. Real quick, my name is Mike Rogers. I am the Surface specialist that supports the state of Texas. I've been in similar roles for about 7 years, supporting Texas. And as you can imagine, Surface has evolved a little bit. We hit our 10-year mark in October of last year. So I started when we were selling Surface Pro 3 with Windows 8. And I don't know if anybody remembers Windows 8. Maybe you blacked it out by now. And that was a hard conversations, right? But the conversations now are very different. And I'm excited to talk about NPUs and why that matters. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
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 Very good. So I'm going to start by asking, who knows what an NPU is? Can I get a raise of hands if you think you know what an NPU is? Not many. Good. This is great. I've asked that question many times over the last 2 months as we unveiled the Surface Pro 9 5G. And this group is just the same as just about every other one I've had. Most people don't know what an NPU is. They do know what a CPU is. So if I asked that question and I said, how many of you know what a CPU is? How many would say they know what a CPU is? Yeah, probably everyone. GPU, probably everyone. So NPU is something relatively new. especially on a device like a 2-in-1. We started seeing NPUs somewhat in the phone space. CPUs are really great at just kind of throwing any task at them, but they may not do specific tasks efficiently. GPUs came around because GPUs are really good at repeatable calculations, especially when it comes to video. So when you've got complex CAD work, you've got some crazy video editing you need to do, GPUs are great. The question becomes, what happens when you need to do more complex tasks that would require a lot of work from both the CPU and the GPU? Things that matter in hybrid work. It's the reason why I'm on this call today, is because NPUs can do some really cool things that matter for folks that spend any level of time on Teams or on other video conferencing solutions. So an NPU is essentially bringing AI to the hardware. We go through, and Qualcomm goes through, a process of training the NPU to do specific tasks really well. So think about, for anybody that's familiar with Azure machine learning, imagine if you took that methodology and you applied it to hardware. That's essentially what's happening here. And so the Surface Pro 9 5G that launched on October 25th has a processor and a chipset on it that's a combination of work between Qualcomm and Microsoft, and it has an NPU on that chipset. Here's some examples of things that are possible with NPUs, and I'm going to talk specifically in a minute about some of the things that are done by our device and enabled through Windows. So the question is, why does it matter? Like, why would I care about having an NPU on a Teams call? You know, we're here today. Many of us often join these type of calls through video. This device is able to do, through the NPU, automatic framing. So as I move around the room, it's going to continue to find and frame my face. It also has a lot of features, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, called eye contact, background blur. So this is actually not Teams doing this background. You'll notice I have a really smooth portrait blur around me as I move around. And then voice focus, which is really my favorite feature that I'm going to demo here in a second. The one that I think is probably the most valuable NPU enabled feature, voice clarity as well. So that as I move around the room, you still get a super crisp and clear audio through the microphone. And I'm on a Surface Pro, I'm using the built-in camera and I'm using the built-in microphones. So I don't have a need to use additional accessories to do that. I'm even using the Surface Pen to actually advance slides because it has integration with PowerPoint. So lots of really neat little integrations. But let's talk about that voice focus feature. So give me a raise of hands if you've ever been in a really important meeting and somebody came through with a blower in your backyard, or you were working at a coffee shop and somebody just decided to steam a latte and you just hear shh right as you're going into that meeting. Anybody been there? I know I've been there. It always happens at the like somebody goes, "Hey Mike, what's your thought on?" and then cuts out, right? You know, it's great to have software that does noise suppression. It's great to have software that does a lot of these features of giving us backgrounds and blurs. But one thing that is different about having these features enabled at the hardware level is anywhere that I use my microphone and my camera, these features are enabled. It doesn't matter if I open the camera app on my device, I still get the auto framing, the eye gaze, the background noise suppression, all of those features. So this is always risky, but so far it's worked every single time. Sometimes you see anybody see something in a keynote and you're like, there's no way it works like that. I know I've been that skeptical person, and I was when I got the Surface Pro 9 5G about a month ago. I was like, no way it's going to be able to eliminate the noise of a really powerful hairdryer. Does anybody else feel like their computer could eliminate the noise of this if they put it on full blast?
No way.
No way. So I'm going to turn this on, and you can see from my hair that it is going full blast. How was the audio?
It was perfect. Like, did not hear a single thing. And it literally, that's a loud hair dryer.
Yeah, this one was on full blast. This one is incredibly loud. I was working a couple weeks ago, had some construction going on in the backyard. I sat on the call and I was like, "Hey, does anybody hear that?" Because I'm distracted. I'm in my room going, "Oh my gosh, this is so loud." Nobody on the call could hear anything. There are so many distractions that happen around us as we're in meetings, and it's really critical to have quality noise suppression. And so this is a really unique, game-changing feature. This is brought to life by combining work, again, from Qualcomm, from our Surface team, and from Windows 11. So these features I'm demoing are on Windows 11 called Windows Studio Effects. The Surface team did some work specifically with Windows. These will be available to other OEMs as they begin to release NPU-enabled devices. So you'll see more and more of this, but just wanted to share kind of where we're at so far. The one other thing you may have noticed, has anybody noticed that it looks like I'm looking directly into the camera?
Yeah.
I'm not. So there's that feature that I was talking about called eye contact. You know, a lot of times I talk with people and you have the choice of, do I look directly into the camera or do I look at the video feed that I see of them from Teams that's right in front of me? With this device, I don't have to make that trade-off. I can look directly down at you and anyone who's talking. And as I look down, it looks like I'm looking directly in the camera. The NPU is actually able to do a slight tweak of my eye gaze to make it look like I'm making a natural eye contact with you, like we would if we were in person. And those little details definitely matter.
Mike, one of the things that I understand about the NPU also is that some of these things can be achieved by the CPU, but they get achieved at a much higher cost in terms of power consumption.
Yep.
And so the NPU apparently is much more effective and lower energy costs to do these things.
Yes. So the NPU on this Surface Pro 9 5G can perform 15 trillion operations per second. And it does those so efficiently because it's been trained to do these tasks. If I try to do that voice suppression feature on the CPU, it would probably take 100% of my CPU to do that. And yet on my device, it does that without even blinking because the NPU is doing all the hard work. That also means that I save a lot on battery life when I'm trying to do these advanced features of hybrid work.
Wow. And the other things that when I think about this, because I've the last session I think it was, and on some of my customer calls where I'm on a call because I work from coffee shop a lot. I talk about this pair of Poly headphones that I have, the V Focus 2. Built into, but I have to have these with me. I got to have headphones on, the whole thing, and you know, which is great working in a coffee shop. But then I have I have a nice Poly sound bar which has a camera that'll focus and will follow me. But I only have that when I'm at home, and I have the whole studio and all that kind of stuff. And I don't have it on the go, and I don't have it on the road, and it just, I think if we could equip people with devices that this is built in, then we don't have to worry about sending them as, sending them cameras and sending them headsets and all the other things.
You are spot on. You know, a lot of people ask, why am I paying a little bit of extra premium for a Surface device? But when you think about the things you don't have to add on to our device, it really becomes a pretty equal conversation.
Yeah, awesome. And I see a little DIR link down at the bottom there.
Yes. Yeah. So Surface devices are available from 19 different resellers that Microsoft sponsors on the DIR contract.
Nice. Are there any other things that you want to share with us, Mike?
That's the latest and greatest right now. We have 9 devices currently in market, so this is just one of those 9 devices. So there's a lot of different options. The majority of those devices are available on that DIR contract. And please reach out to me if you have any questions at all.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. And do you mind putting the link to this DIR link? Do you mind putting that in the chat?
You got it.
And that way people can take a look at that. And so, you know, if you have some road warriors or people that are you know, constantly working hybrid and working at different locations, this might be something to consider. And now, Mike, is this out or is this about to come out? What's the status?
Available now. Yeah, started shipping to customers on October 25th.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mike. When Mike told me about the NPU and the hairdryer thing, I was like, oh, we got to show that. So awesome. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Now, Chris, you are going to be up next. Do you want to share your screen or do you want to share do you want me to share my slides and just advance the slides for you?
If you'll share your slides, I think I can just take control. That might be easiest.
Yeah, perfect.
And part of the presentation, I have some demos, and I brought some real experts, Blake Owens and Andre De La Cruz, who helped support this. Blake is from the telecom, and Andre's from our internal Microsoft tech team. So these guys are really sharp. So
all right.
I brought that just in case.
Okay, well, let's see. So the field, the control is yours, Chris.
Okay.
And at first, I want to say I really want to thank Chris. Chris has been super generous with his time. One, attending almost all of these community calls over the last 3 years, but then also, I really find that hearing from other customers, you know, hearing from the Microsoft people is great, but hearing from other customers really makes it real. And so I just want to thank Chris and his whole team for all the times you've contributed, and thanks for doing this today.
Absolutely, and likewise, I want to thank Michael Kennedy for inviting me to present. I also want to thank our DIR partners who we work closely with on a lot of endeavors, and one of the focus points is our team soft phones, and that would not have been possible without their assistance. So just backing up a little bit before we get into the soft phones, just TWC's matriculation. You know, 2.5 years ago, we went home like everyone else. But shortly before that, we had started something called Tech Talk Coffee Breaks. One of the challenges we found out, everybody's super busy, particularly in IT. And they're so busy, you can't even get them to go to training to learn a new particular feature or tool set or application. And you know, the 4-hour training, the all-day training, the boot camps, those have their place. I go to them as well. But kind of finding the time, we've always struggled with that. So we shrewdly started offering Tech Talk Coffee Breaks, what we called them. And we had them in a conference room that was strategically placed before what we call a breezeway between our 2 main buildings. So when you walk from one to the other, you see coffee, free coffee and donuts, you would stop. And guess what? A lot of times we would have these sessions. They're no more than an hour, and we would focus on how do I do transcriptions? How do I use Planner for our electronic Kanban whipboards? How do I use Teams, et cetera, et cetera? So this has been tremendously valuable for us. When we started these, we had 5 different video conferencing solutions: Zoom, GoToMeetings, Cisco WebEx, Adobe Connect, and those remnants of those are still in the agencies. We don't block, but Teams has become the forefront. And from an administrative support perspective, it's easier just having one main primary. And for several reasons, the others didn't pan out. I think at the time, Zoom was in the process of some security issues, and they used to be #1, by the way. And we had to make some changes at that time. At any rate, and we use the tools to help automate, and we try to integrate this into our TWC family daily program to make it very useful. You know, have a couple of examples here. Trained over 4,000 people in 24 months. We've had over 60 sessions, not 600. Typo, sorry. I just changed that number. 660 sessions. I didn't catch that, sorry. But they're tremendously popular. You know, we used to have them twice a month. Now we went to 1 month. And what we've done, we record them. So I went to a conference last week and I had several folks stop me. And they told me they don't go to the live one, but they go to the recording, and they're very valuable. They're very effective. We had one today, a year-end closeout, where we had the 12 replays of Christmas, if you will. And we talked about 12 topics that we did during the year. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of information. After each topic, we put a tip sheet or a paper handout in the chat to go along with the topic as an aid to reference. So that's just something we did earlier. That was just a lot of fun. Let's see. And we have a part in all of these where we have open mic. So you could ask us anything, you know, with any of the topics that we talked about, and we'll answer and we'll illustrate. Okay, so the team soft phones, which is what I want to highlight today. So as I said earlier, when we went home, just like you, we left our desk phones in the office, right? But we're still paying for those, largely as an IT, to open shop. No one's there. So our CIO and her brilliance, Heather Hall, said, hey, would it make sense, since we use them these other these Microsoft Teams portal apps, to just use the Teams soft phone? And you know, I have an epiphany. Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't we think of that sooner? It's nimble. It fits into our what we call our BILD strategy, where if you don't want two phones, you can just have your Teams phone and the other supported apps on your personal phone with our in line with our BOLD policy, and just carry one device. We have some divisions that have switched 100%. In addition to IT, who switched 2 years ago to the Team soft phone, such as our Civil Rights Division, and they're using it for a lot of field investigations and so forth. And they've even pulled back their customer issued phones, and they only use they only have one phone. So that's a nice little cost savings. The Team soft phones license is cheaper than the desk phone license that we were paying for. And in many cases, you really don't need another phone. This does the trick. You know, it's just convenient having just one phone to worry about. Okay. So I want to just kind of touch on a few of the advanced features, because we are 30% at TWC. We should be 50% in February, but our approach is to make sure, you know, it might not work for everybody. I'm not a salesman, you know, but if we see a tool that can make your life better, we'll show you, right? Make your work easier, doing more with less. I believe this is one tool. This soft phone makes things a little more nimble, right? So, and some of the questions I get about is, or I want to show you a few slides on that, and then we'll demonstrate. They have to do with call forwarding, call groups, simultaneous ring, and blocking calls, and the ACD line. And we'll get in that shortly. But one of the introductions I always send folks is a short video that we created. When we roll out any training, we always try to do a short custom video where TWC folks can see us accessing TWC sites and whatnot. So it'll be very familiar. And we found it eases the anxiety of having to embrace a new tool. So I have my expert Andre that's going to show you a short the videos are all less than three to 4 minutes. A short 2.5 minute video getting started with Teams soft phones that we created. Andre?
Okay, Chris, I'm gonna share my video, okay? And
Sure.
just let me know when I'm gonna
back when
stop
you're
it.
done.
Sorry, I made the mistake not sharing my my audio. Let me try that
Common
again.
question, no problem. We've all done that.
Many times.
Okay, just give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear the audio.
Hello, I'm here to show you the soft phone features in Teams. To get to your soft phone, click on the calls icon in the left navigation bar. Here you'll find your keypad and your phone number that is listed above. To make an outgoing call, simply just type in the phone number and click call. You can also receive calls from the outside. You'll receive a pop-up notification in the lower right corner of Teams and just click the receiver to answer the call. You can also see your contacts, your call history, and your voicemails in this tab. To create a contact, click on Contacts, Add Contact, type in the name or number, the contact's not found, click on the We did not find any matches, Add, and a contact card will pop up for you to complete. Other useful finds in Teams is click on the ellipsis by your profile picture at the top right corner and go to Settings. If you use a headset, click on Devices. And here you can set your phone to ring in the headset, on your laptop, or both. Click on Calls. Here you can set up your ringtones, how long it rings before it goes to voice message, and turn on your accessibility. To configure voicemail, click on Configure Voicemail, record a greeting. You can also set your out-of-office greetings to show all the time when you have an Outlook auto reply or when you have an out-of-office calendar event. For any other subjects you might want to find in Teams, you can click on the help icon in the lower left corner, go to Training, type in the subject you would like to train on, and search. Teams will bring up a list of trainings that match your search. I hope our video has helped you. Thank you, and have a good day.
Well, that's a great video, Chris.
Thank you, thank you. We have an advanced, that was the just getting started. We have an advanced video as well. I won't show that today, but you get the idea. So that kind of one of the first things we do, and we also send a desk aid that I'll provide, or Michael, if you had that handy, you can just pop it in the chat. And that answers some of the upfront questions right away. Let's see. So Michael, I think I lost your screen. So if you'll share it, I'll take control again. Sorry about
Perfect.
that.
Let me do that.
And thank you, Andre, for navigating. When I'm speaking, it helps when I have a help, and because I'll lose my place often with trying to maneuver. Okay, so on some of that video touched on, but I want to just walk you through some of the common questions I get, and I wouldn't say trepidation, but a little hesitant on why folks might be reluctant to move to a soft phone technology. And some of them deal with, can we create call groups, call forwarding, simultaneous rings? What about hunt groups and ACD lines? And the answer for all of that is this can do that. Okay, so I won't go into detail with all of this, and I don't want to PowerPoint you to death, but I do want to show you some of the few features. You can forward calls to another number or team or teams, different teams and different groups. You can set up call forwarding rules. You can start the forwarding your calls to so by selecting the settings and the more option. You can, under the call answering rules, you can choose forward my calls, then select wherever you like. For example, in IT, we had a policy where the director, so I'm the infrastructure services director, we could not have voicemail. So with our LAN desk, we felt that, if someone's calling us, that's usually an escalation or something right away. So we didn't want them to, our CIO decided she did not want us to have that to go to voicemail. So switching to the soft phones, we didn't want to lose that feature. So that's available with the soft phone. So I have mine set up to ring. And after, I think, 15 seconds, I have mine set up, it goes to an administrative assistant. I could also have it go to several other folks or go to several folks at the same time. Okay, so a lot of functionality there. You can have it forward to a group. The group is currently at 25. I understand that's supposed to be up to 50. So if that's in up to 50 now, that might have changed. Okay. All right, so, and this is just literally what it looks like. One of the good things about the Microsoft Soft Phones Teams app is very simple to use. It's very to set up. One of the bad things about the simplicity, you can forget how sophisticated the tool actually is, right? So when we're doing the training, folks like, oh, that's all you do. Oh. We get a lot of, that's really simple. And then we have to show them again because it's, when you look at it, it's embedded little sophistication that you can miss it due to how the ease of use in the system itself. Creating a new group is very straightforward. First, you go to the chat on the left side of Teams, and there's always more than one way to do some of these things that we're showing you, by the way. Then select the chat drop down at the top and select contacts. Okay. You create your new group, you can name it there. Okay. You get the confirmation that your group was created, as you can see. Another thing I get is how to block calls. So just like you get spam on your cell phone and your desk phones, you get spam with your Teams number, right? So once the spammers get a hold of a number, they start spamming. But this is so easy to block, right? And I have some examples on the screen here. You can block them. You can see where that folks have reached out to me several times, and it was, just spam. So I blocked them. If you accidentally block the wrong person, no problem. You can just click on it and unblock. Okay. So I know I'm going over it. It looks real simple, but it is. Simultaneous ring. So this is one of the festive slides I talked about earlier that we showed in our Tech Talk coffee break presentation earlier. So it has some of the slides are festive. So you can set your ring to more than one person, right? We have a after hours internal emergency management team that responds to outages. We call it the MEM. So if you're on the MEM and we have a very special ringtone, right? Some of them have like the Star Wars, Darth Vader march. So you'll know it's probably a big deal. Or you could, if you choose to, have a ringtone coming from your boss, right? Or any of your leadership, and you can have it tied into your simultaneous ring to always ring a certain way. So I think that's really neat, right? Not that you ignore the other folks, right?
I wouldn't recommend using the Darth Vader one for your boss, by the way.
I said that earlier, and I had a similar response. I had to backpedal really, really quick. But simultaneous ring, you can see is very straightforward. You just add the folks there in your ringtone, and you can pick if you want it to ring right away, or if there's a delay, if you want to, on the right side, add more in your call distribution. And Blake's going to demo this to show you shortly here how quick it is. Forward calls the same way. You can have forward to an individual or to a group, and you just select it. All right, so Blake, I think this is your cue. You all set?
Okay, I'll go ahead and take over and share my screen.
Okay, and when you're done, Michael will resume, and then I'll grab it from Michael.
Sounds good.
Okay, so here I have my Teams application on my computer. One of the first things we wanted to look at was adding a call group. This is one of the things we've demoed on our Tech Talks or Coffee Talks. So here you can see I actually have 2 different groups set up already. I have 2 of my managers in one group and 2 of my coworkers in another one. So this is where I would go to create a new one, and I could add different individuals in my organization here. So once I've done that, that kind of opens up some different opportunities. So let's get into settings first, and we'll look at a simultaneous ring. So here in settings, we have a call area here for sections. This is where you can set up where the call would ring me and also ring my call group. So here I have a way of editing the call group, and I can go in and see Sandra and Sowell here in this level. This is going to be the order as well, if I have the option whether I want to ring all at the same time, or if I wanted to set a certain order, I could make sure these were in the right place to ring one person first and then the next. And if it's over 6 individuals, I believe, it will automatically set to ring simultaneously for all those folks. So I'm going to kind of cancel this out because I don't want it to ring everyone currently, just myself. But this is also the area where you can set call forwarding as well. So once I have forwarding selected, that right now this would be like if I wanted to go to voicemail, to my call group, or even another number such as my cell phone if I don't have my computer with me. So I'm going to leave that back there. Also, we talked about blocking calls. So here on my calls tab, for instance, I would never do this, Chris, but this is where you could go to the individual and go in and actually, it might have to be a number that's not part of my organization. So hypothetically, let's see, here's one. So just like right, I definitely wouldn't want to block this, but hypothetically, if this was a spam call and I see it enough, I can come in and block that call. So basically, let me see, I think there was one other little area I wanted to look at. This is down here where you can have the different changes between calls for me, forwarded calls, if I like they were talking about having different sounds, so I can quickly identify if this particular call is, you know, a high importance thing. I have these different settings I can adjust here. So that's some of the things that we've been showing. And just on a personal note, I work in telecom, so I'm, you know, working with different people all over the place. I love having the ability to take my Teams call to my work cell, or reach out to someone in the field. Maybe if their cell phone's not working, I can call them on Teams and we can troubleshoot that issue. So just wanted to add that to the call.
Thank you, Blake. And also, it has the TTY option, TWC accessibility, and the adult education literacy program and the VR programs is very important. So we have those options as well. And the Teams soft phone supports that. Okay, so Michael, if you'll do the Texas 2-step, I'll grab it.
Got it. 1 sec here, Chris.
Great job, Blake. Thank you for demonstrating a couple of those points. But yeah, and what I want him to demonstrate is just the ease of that. You know, a lot of this, we create these slides and we just kind of start using, oh, this is how. And there's usually more than one way to do, you know, all of that. So, so thank you. Training help. You know, we covered this in the video, but if you need help, there's a lot of material out there. If you'll search under the bottom icon and type in soft phone or phone, Microsoft has provided some nice links that'll help you. We also have a desk aid that we provide that I think will, you know, answer specific questions that we get a lot. So we provide that, and we can also do some training if necessary. We haven't really had to use that much other than some initial concerns. You know, we literally were doing a training and someone was asking about some of the the forwarding calls and hunt groups. And that was at the beginning of the year. In January, that additional functionality was not part of Softphone's teams. During the HR meeting, we realized when we were showing it, they had updated teams, and it was. So that was pretty neat.
Nice.
Yeah, that was really neat. We were like, oh, well, it does it now. So that eased their concern, and we're in the process of converting them, by the way. Also, another feature I really want to point out, and we'll move on. I don't want to take too much more time because I want to open up the floor for questions, was E911. So, and Blake could probably explain in great detail, but in a nutshell, your landline, you know, the way when there's an emergency, it routes to your nearest dispatch. And soft phones in general, they don't have that. In a nutshell, if there's an emergency, it might be 30 to 60 seconds delay in routing. Well, this year, Microsoft Teams soft phones has addressed that. So now it triangulates your location. And just like the physical phone does, it's going to always, if there's an emergency, you know, a fire or, you know, physical emergency or something, you have a medical emergency, it's going to route you to your nearest emergency dispatch. So I think that's really neat. So there's a lot of background work being done to continually improve this product. So, you know, I think it will help you be a lot more nimble. So yeah, I want to just make sure I mention that. This is just a chart on kind of where we are. I need to update. We got a couple divisions that we're in process. By February, we'll be at 50%. And just some general questions we get. How do I request a soft phone? We request either two ways. Put in a ServiceNow ticket. ServiceNow is our intake main intake system for IT requests. Or you could reach out to the cell phone folks or myself if it's a mass installation, you know, maybe 30 or more people. And that we actually prefer that because it's easier. And just kind of follow the process. Okay. We do require that before you get requests that you have a cell phone, that you get your manager approval. Right. So we want to make sure there's some checks and balances.
Nice. Hey, Chris, I'm wondering, I saw on that last slide, the ServiceNow. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but ServiceNow can now be integrated into Teams.
It's on my it's on Santa's 2023 list of Tech Talk coffee breaks. We talked about that this morning. Yeah. And there's some features where Michael mentioned, you know, the metaverse and in the presentation earlier, and the avatar. If you joined earlier, you saw the avatar, and Michael was actually doing the robot with his avatar. So there's a feature coming where that's going to integrate nicely with Teams as well. And if you don't know what that is, you can probably, like I said this morning, you can probably just ask your kids because they're all into the metaverse and avatars, and it's another avenue for you to connect. And I think for folks who are might be a little camera shy, or, you know, they don't have a suit on, or, you know, they might not want to show their pictures virtually, their actual picture, the avatar is going to be a good avenue. And more to come on the metaverse. Well, that's coming down the pipe.
That's right.
In closing, I would be remiss. Why should you do this, right? I think the big advantage is ease of use. It's nimble. It flows in with our BYOD policy nicely, and just having one device. It has a lot of customization, ringtones, dial tones, simultaneous ring, hunt groups, and, you know, for the cell phone folks and the telecom folks, they know what that means, and ACD capabilities, and it's continuing to evolve. And, you know, what we call our Santa's wish list, it's cheaper. We've saved over $70,000, and actually it's almost double. This chart needs to be upgraded. That's a lot of dough. A lot of dough. Wow. So anytime you can talk about savings and show, you know, I'm verifying some figures, but we believe that's doubled. That's a lot of money. What can you do with over $100,000 that you did just on savings? Okay.
Chris, what do you attribute that savings to? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is
Yeah,
that
yeah. So
yeah.
we attribute the savings just a lower license cost, and with the folks giving up their company issued phones, right, and just
Oh
having
wow.
yeah, because we don't have to pay for those.
And then people don't have to carry 2 cell phones around.
That's correct.
So they
As I
instead of
said,
carrying 2 cell phones, they use the Teams client on their they use the Teams client on their personal device, but then it has their work phone number in the Teams client. Is that the way they do it?
that's the way they do it. That's one way. Yeah. Um, they can also just have the Teams client on their personal phone and call into it. We have a couple different ways they configure it, but that's one way. Yeah.
I got a question. This
Nice.
is Jeffrey from DFPS. So with that said, what about compliance wise? Is this still falls into compliance with Intune, and you can make it into its own container to where you can, if you need to remove the application because the user got dismissed or the employee got dismissed or what have you, and you can remove that from the device.
Yeah, so our BYOD policy is really where we support about a dozen apps. And is that Jeff Brown? As in,
yes,
is
sir.
that Jeff? Hey, Jeff. All right, Jeff. Okay, but no, when we were testing our BYOD policy and piloting it, we rigorously went over that. Some of the regulatory guidelines, so if we had to pull stuff back, and so we have control for those apps, and the Teams apps is one of those that we support, along with the DocuSign, and there's a dozen of them that we support, and they understand this, that, and the other. So that's how we address that. It is in Intune, to answer your second technical question, and we can control it. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Glad to see you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. Any other questions?
Chris, I remember you talking about this Tech Talk coffee break. I think about maybe a year and a half ago when you first came on to talk about this, and those comments that you had on that previous slide. It's so good. We had some questions in the chat. Let me go back to some of those questions. There was one specifically about the Tech Talk coffee break, and that one, let me scroll back up to that.
Yeah, I've gotten spoiled because when we do the Tech Talk coffee breaks, some of the O365 Tiger team members, they read the chats for me, and so all I do is present. So Andre or Blake, if you guys can help me out, and we can make sure.
I've got one here from Pacing. Hey, Pacing, how you doing? He asked which division/roles are responsible for the content and coordinating the Coffee Talk Tech Tips.
So it's we have a Tiger team that's cross-divisional, and this is really good. We actually have a member on the commissioner's office part of the team. It is mostly IT, and it's largely part of Microsoft Tech team, but it's a cross-functional team. It's not just one division. And it's only 12 members. We keep it small, and sometimes folks might go on a sabbatical, and we have a lot of interest to be on the team. So we rotate them out every 6 months, or we might put somebody on a sabbatical. Elena Zachman from the commissioner's office, she just came off a sabbatical that she was on due to a lot of pressing work. We feel that's the way to keep relevant with what the customers really want and find useful. And they have a lot of insight that, come outside IT. Sometimes you can have a tunnel vision in IT and a fresh customer perspective.
Nice.
We
I
also
really like
have
it.
Members of accessibility and just different walks of life on the team. One of the members is visually impaired, and she's so awesome. I forget that she can't see, but and she's done some of the best presentations on accessibility options with the teams and whatnot. And she'll be proud that I pointed out the TTY feature in the soft phone that when Blake was showing it.
Yeah, thanks for that, Chris, for sure. There was one question. Can you share that video with us? So the video for the training.
Yes, I will. We have an advanced video that's, I think that was 2 minutes and 37 seconds. The advanced one is under 5, but it covers everything. We have a draft, but I'm probably going to have to do another voiceover, and I'll send that one out. That one will probably be a little better, but yeah.
That's perfect. And Chris, with your permission, what I can do is I can, if you can get a link, an external link where I can get to it, then what I'll do is I'll upload it to the Texas Teams Community YouTube channel, and we can put it out there for the community members to be able to go and visit.
Will do. Yeah, I'll have that advanced one ready this month before Christmas, and that'll be the one. One of the voiceovers in the video is no longer with us, so I want to make sure we have their permission and so forth, and I'll probably be on the other one as well. Okay.
Excellent. And then there was a question from Judy, and Judy asked, does TWC use this with any of your call center functions?
Yes, we're integrating these now with call center functions. We do have another call center soft phone. From what I understand, this one appears to be easier, so we might be making some changes when that license ends with the other one that we use.
Excellent. Thank you. Stacy's got her hand up. Stacy?
Hey, Stacy.
Yeah. Hi. Awesome presentation. I just wanted to address Judy's question on call center as well. I'm glad that you are working on integrating some of those features, because one of my customers had an urgent need that came from the Office of the First Lady in relation to Hurricane Ian and its impact on Florida. And we were able to assist that agency and stand up a fully functional call center with about 500 agents responding in 48 hours. The agency itself was already well adopted on Teams. So we did some key trainings for those new folks to use the Teams call center. They were familiar with other call center functionality, so their learning curve was rather abbreviated, thankfully. But that was a hugely successful and fast endeavor to delivery. So I just wanted to mention that because it shows the how nimble Teams can be, and especially with Teams phone, how flexible it can be, and especially in short order, because sometimes there's not a lot of runway to put these things together, as you guys know. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to mention that too.
Thank you for that comment, because I think in the call center, again, you know, we don't try to push this. We just offer it and folks want it. But when they use it, they're sold. You know, it has a walkie-talkie feature that folks really like. And, you know, they like that sometimes, some of the folks in the field, because they used to having walkie-talkies, you know, additional walkie-talkie, and they like that better. I don't use that feature personally, but they love that feature. And they just say over and over, and that's how they work. You know, but yeah, I don't want to name those call center folks out with the soft phones, the different soft phones and Teams that will probably be replaced. But from the users, this is just so much easier. And so when those license contracts in, we'll be making some changes.
Nice. That's great, Chris. Well, Chris, is there anything else that you want to share about the phone or anything else?
No, I think we covered the high points. If you guys have any questions, I'll pop my contact in the chat. Just give me an email and we'll answer it. Thanks, Andre De La Cruz and Owen and Blake Owens for pitch hitting and showing me and demoing that while I just talk. And thanks, Michael, for letting me present. And I want to thank our friends in DRR who's helped us. You know, we couldn't have done it without you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks to DIR. Thanks for Chris and the whole TWC team. And we are now going to hand this over to Staci Mildenberger, and we're going to show you another way that you can enhance communication through Teams. So I'll take it away, Staci.
Thanks. I am sharing my PowerPoint now. Thumbs up if you can see that. Awesome. I figured you could, Michael. I want to make sure that the field can too. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm here to really take what you just heard and give you a whole new perspective in taking that Teams phone and doing SMS with it. I think I started brainstorming about SMS in Teams probably 2 years ago with an account technology specialist here in Florida. We were going, man, Teams is so cool for one-to-one communication. It would be interesting if it had an SMS component. And of course, we have many partners who were doing the same sort of thing. They were wondering how they could leverage the Teams phone and the Teams voice opportunity and bring SMS in. And fortunately, we've had some great movements forward in that. And I want to talk about that today because there are some use cases that I think are very relevant for state and local government that maybe haven't been considered widely. And I'm starting to see some traction here in Florida. Florida is the state that I cover. So Michael and I stay in lockstep, being that he covers Texas and I cover Florida. We certainly are in similar size states and similar needs for our customers. And so we always like to share those great ideas. And when I was sharing this product and this approach with Michael, he thought it would be interesting to come here and get your perspective on it. So what we'll talk about for the next few minutes, and I think if I do a little time check, we have maybe half an hour-ish. I'm also expecting, and I hate to promise that he'll be here, but I sure hope that I'll also have Angel Aviles join us. Angel Aviles is my counterpart for Teams UI. He actually has the deeper technical knowledge in adoption of Teams phone. And so any questions that come up before his arrival, let's put them in the chat. We can table them, and hopefully when he arrives, we can dig through some of those technical pieces. But I want to concentrate on use case information. So let's first set the stage. I'm going to go ahead.
Stacy, just real quick. So just for the Texas customers, Angel does cover the state of Texas also. So if you wanted to do a deep dive, we can absolutely have you all visit with Chris. But if you wanted to have a technical deep dive from Microsoft, then Angel is the person that we'd call in to do that. So, and he runs this stuff in his home network. He's in it to win it.
Yeah, thanks for that, Michael, and very true. I do hope we get to introduce him. So moving on through here, let me just set the stage. So I'm going to talk about hybrid work and collaboration, and of course that goes hand in hand with Teams, as you know, but we also have that need for texting that maybe if you're not hearing it from the customers that you serve in Texas, I imagine you will start hearing it because I'm hearing it here in Florida. And so I want to give you this as a tool in your toolbox as something that might be able to answer those use cases as they arise. So we know you've seen the Microsoft data around hybrid work and it being here to stay. And we know that that means there are BYOD situations, there are situations where you are issuing additional phones and cellular enabled devices. And so all of that plays together well, except that many of us are accustomed to texting when we have that device in our hands. And in your universe in state and local government, it's very necessary to keep control of those exchanges of information, that data that flows back and forth between devices. And we know that very well in working with security and compliance in Teams in general. So when these devices become enabled, when they're having to communicate, particularly with external citizens, there's definitely some sensitivity that Microsoft brings to the table on that compliance front. So I want to square up with that up front and say that that is one of the reasons why in Florida we're leaning towards this particular solution when these SMS needs come up. So we know that when employees are juggling devices, or if they're not given the particular device that they might need to execute their business, they will find a way to get work done. Sometimes they are using personal devices maybe inappropriately, or maybe just out of sheer need to get something communicated quickly. We want to empower you guys to keep that information central to what you need to track, what you want to track, what has to be tracked due to policy and procedures. and want to make sure that we consider that with any tools or extra apps or services that we suggest or bring to the table. So this has information about the switching that information workers do between apps on a daily basis. So they're using approximately 10 apps 25 times a day. So if you think Teams is just one of those apps, but you start integrating those services into Teams, it makes that friction of switching between apps much less jarring for your employees. It makes Teams be where they go when they need to get that message across, when they need to communicate with other folks, when they need to collaborate, rather than them going, where's the best way? How do I work out? How do I use some shadow IT app somewhere just to take care of one little thing? It makes Teams central to that. And I know as you all are a partner working with Michael, you lead with Teams a lot when you're talking about collaboration. And so we want to reinforce that. Obviously, we are glad you're here and we're glad you're leaning into Teams. So here we have just an image. You've probably seen this image in other Microsoft presentations, but here I just want to take a moment and show you that we can integrate that texting along with the meeting, along with the chatting, along with the calling and the collaboration that folks have become so accustomed to in Teams in the last couple of years. For an end user who is already chatting in Teams, it makes perfect sense to me, at least, to have them also type and have a recipient out in the field or out in the citizenry receive that via text, rather than them having to leave their Teams UI, go to their email UI, craft an email and click send, and have that citizen on the other end have to be logged in into an email account to get that message, when that citizen is way more comfortable getting messages via texting on their mobiles today, right? So we want you to be able to leverage the Teams UI, where you have strong adoption, where your end users understand how it works, and have them be able to stay in that Teams world and get their communication out in the way that the end user, or sorry, the citizen may better communicate or better receive that information. So we'll keep, I'm going to keep double clicking on this message because I do think it is very important to think about how Teams may apply. Now, one way that I can also mention here that Teams doesn't make a whole lot of sense, at least from the position where someone may already have Teams as an employee within your agency, it wouldn't necessarily make sense to text an internal employee from Teams. You could just do chat. You could just do your internal email. You would have those channels already established for your internal communication. So we are really directing this particular solution towards those external communications. Okay, so think about texting from within Teams to new hire potential folks, applicants to your agencies, folks who need to schedule interviews, folks who may need to schedule some sort of interaction, some sort of inspection, perhaps some sort of virtual visit of any kind. It could be medical from any of your health and human services areas. So those are the use cases that we're looking to uncover today. And these are the use cases that I'm hearing, again, from Florida come up time and time again. So one of the most common questions I get about this is, yeah, okay, so my frontline worker who is scheduling these appointments can one-to-one text with someone who needs to come into an interview. But what about group texting? What if I have a department that has some sort of listserv or group that they like to interact with and send information to periodically? Can this solution do that too? And the answer is yes. You can use those work phone lines through Teams. You can even archive those group messages in Teams, and you can certainly connect with other apps, point people to other services via these group texts. And you can even text URLs, you can text links, and things like that. So that opens up a lot of additional use cases when you're not talking about just one-to-one, you're also talking about one-to-many SMS messages. So what you see here is a list of the what we mean by using work lines. So you can call and text from those existing numbers that you have in your agencies. And of course, that would set aside, hopefully, the use of the personal mobile in your agency, or something that is unmanaged, right? That's the thing that we want to discourage. We also are able to assure you that your agency owns the data for the text messages that are sent through your Teams UI. So that data can stay within your Azure databases. So there's a slide in a few minutes about that with a little more information. You can also potentially eliminate a work mobile phone, because if they're using Teams on their devices in order to send these messages, perhaps they don't need that additional mobile phone, or if they do, they can still use that service. What you're seeing there on the right is the Teams Texting for Business app in the mobile. It's actually embedded in the chat app on the mobile so that folks can craft their messages and click send and have that go out via text to the recipient. And then, like I've said a couple of times before, the cool thing about this is if it's already being sent from Teams, then it's already going to take advantage of the archiving capabilities of Teams with rules that you likely already have set up in your e-discovery. You have the ability to have the single sign-on for Teams access. They're not going to have to log into some other system. It's going to be surfaced there, and the Texting with Business app is going to recognize their login with Teams. The notifications that go back and forth, if there's a new text that comes in, because it is one-way or two-way communication via the Texting with Business app, it can use the Teams notifications in order to alert you to a new message that's come in from that text, from that line. Then you can also have that e-discovery and DLP products all doing the same work that they're doing in other Teams capacities for the Texting with Business and the information that flows through that channel as well. And then what I think is really cool, and one of the things that we've done some investments towards here in Florida, is taking this Texting with Business app and integrating it with other applications like the call center application, like a customer relationship manager application, like a health records management application. Having those texts that are sent out from the agency and received into the agency be accessible within those other applications is really important, especially if you're talking about something as sensitive as patient management or things like that. There's also, because it's in Teams and it relies on Azure in the back end and some of the other modern work Microsoft tools, you can do things like use Power Automate to schedule certain processes. For instance, if you want to automatically text a confirmation to someone because they're doing a booking of a virtual visit, you can do that through this Texting with Business app. Same for reminders. If you want to send reminders for these kinds of appointments that have been booked using the SMS integration, then it can certainly be done on a timeline that makes sense for your agency or whatever the use case is for the citizen. So if you need to send something an hour before their session, you can certainly do that. If you need to send something 24 hours before their session, Power Automate is flexible in that way, and so is the Texting with Business app and the integrations that can be set behind the scenes. I mentioned this at a high level. This is one of the things that really got Florida to start talking about this, and it has to do with the Bookings app for Teams. You can connect the Bookings app for Teams and take advantage of SMS integrations between these. And this solution is a little bit different than what is perhaps embedded in Bookings as far as SMS goes, because you can take it that extra mile and make it integrated within your medical record system or your CRM or those other systems of record that you need to keep that data secure and accessible and shared when multiple entities within your agency are using that information. Michael?
Yeah, Staci, so I just want to drill in a little bit more on that. So if you had like an electronic medical record system or a CRM that you used with your customers, then the text messages are sent through Teams, and you see them in Teams, and you respond and do all the communication through Teams, but the actual text messages are stored like in the patient record or in an activities log or something like that, depending on where you want to put them in the system. Is that right?
Yeah, the actual storage of the message would be in the Azure Cosmos database. But
Okay.
once it's there is integration capabilities into any other system that may be needed to access that information and see it in real time when things are being analyzed or planned or carried out in the service of whatever entity that text was with. That information can be shared between those systems once it's in the Azure Cosmos database. And the key thing with that is having it in the database that you all govern, right? It's not in the database of the texting with business approved contact world. It actually stays in your system, it remains in your system, and it's only accessible by your agency or whomever you
AT&T's cloud. Yeah.
Correct. And this slide just has one other quick mention about two-way texting. So you can do two-way texting from the same number. And you can use existing telephone numbers that you may already have today, or if you are looking to move towards Teams Phone and you're going to have a whole bunch of new numbers that you're issuing out, those can also be leveraged with this SMS capability. They would not be creating unique numbers in addition to what you get with Teams Phone. I hope that makes sense. Like the numbers you can bring or Teams Phone can bring or approved contact can bring, but you don't need any one person to have multiple numbers. They can SMS set up whatever number you need set up. And then again, with controlling your own data, right? So here's where we call out the Azure Cosmos database. This is where your information is going to park. Once that message gets sent and once it's received, it's going to live in this Azure Cosmos database. And that's why you have the capabilities you do around integrating it with other systems. Your agency has the only copy of that text message. So when we talk about security and compliance, that is how we can stand behind that message with this product, because it really truly is keeping that information central to you and where you need to store it and access it. And of course, being that it's under your full control, you can control how long the data is kept and who has access to that data. I have a little video I'd like to share. So I'm going to switch the screen I'm sharing and make sure I share my audio, and then you guys can watch this video. It's only about a minute and a half long, and then we'll come back here for another couple of slides. And just to make the gentleman feel better from earlier, I actually didn't share my audio, so I'm going to do that too.
It's your first time using Teams.
Totally first time. Okay, but hopefully you guys can hear this. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off.
Are you carrying two mobile phones? Do your customers have your personal number and you wish they didn't? How hard is it to communicate with employees and customers when people answer their phones less and less? Let's say you want to follow up with a client. How many phone calls and emails would go back and forth before the customer wants to switch to texting? Wouldn't it be nice if you could just send a group text from your business phone number? Guess what? You can with the Texting for Business application for Microsoft Teams from Approved Contact Network. With Texting for Business, you can turn your business numbers into a mobile texting platform that is easier, has more features, and is more secure than a personal phone. Simply purchase the application and load it into your Microsoft Teams account. Now you can send messages from your work numbers with your laptop, tablet, or mobile phone. Include attachments, easily coordinate with your employees and customers, all without sharing your personal mobile number. You'll love carrying just one phone that enables both texting for business and your personal number for friends. Your security team will love it because texting for business routes through company-owned numbers. And your workers will thank you because they can easily communicate as a team with customers. Texting for Business has never been easier, more secure, or more tightly integrated into Microsoft Office. Save time and allow customers and employees to communicate their way with texting.
All right.
Hey, Stacy, can you put the link to that video in the chat? It wasn't moving for me. It may have been for other people, but it was just, I could hear everything, but I couldn't see the motion in the video.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can do
bummer.
that after.
But yeah, of course. Yeah, we can get you that link. It's right here in my deck, so easy for me to grab.
Okay, you know what? I see it in the deck. I'll go ahead and grab it and put it in the chat, Stacy.
Okay, awesome. So on the screen here, I have a quote from a customer of Approved Contact who has some real data on what they did with Approved Contact and SMS from Teams. And this particular use case was around one that I mentioned earlier, where if you have candidates who you would like to interview, sometimes if any of you have worked on a process that has to do with booking those interviews, you know that can be a challenge, particularly if you have like an interview panel that has to be coordinated. So this particular use case addresses trying to get in touch with job candidates and scheduling those interviews. And they had a 90% response rate when they were reaching out via SMS through Teams out to those candidates. And again, that's kind of an astounding statistic because of, I think it proves out that people really prefer the SMS on the citizen end or on the communication end from external to the agency. And I certainly agree with that as well. Just from my own personal preference, I definitely prefer to interact via Teams, even when it comes to business and SMS as well. So they scheduled interviews, and they were able to do that with much fewer back and forth phone calls, because with SMS and their response rate so high, they were able to get the answer and book the appointment without a million phone calls back and forth. They didn't have to catch the person at a particular time, and the person could get that text and then respond quickly. They also were able to quickly identify those folks that they didn't need to invest any more time in because they weren't answering their SMSs. Sometimes, if you're only trying to reach out by email, you can even wonder if your email arrived, right? Did my email even go? Maybe I need to send it again. And if it's going to junk, maybe they don't get it at all. SMS is going to reveal very quickly who those candidates are, who you're not going to hear back from because they're not interested. And that saved their HR team time. And then, of course, they were able to find those qualified candidates faster and have their responses faster for interviewing them faster. And as you know, a lot of times a hiring process is not a fast thing. So it's good to not have many cycles spent on the scheduling or the follow-ups, and rather spend the time on actually interfacing with the candidates themselves. And of course, this director of business development Brandon Deskins provided a very nice quote that addresses this particular use case and how it helped. So hopefully that resonates with some of you as we're talking through these use cases. And then we already took a second to check out the video. And that's it, really. It's available in the Microsoft Store. I know that the Microsoft Store isn't necessarily available to everyone, but while you're thinking about the use cases, while you're thinking about what you might need in your agencies, just hold on to Michael's number. Call Michael. He knows how to get in touch with me. And of course, I can get in touch with Approved Contact, and we can get you an opportunity to test drive some things. And hopefully you'll have some new use cases unlocked for teams.
Yeah, Stacy. And I want to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a slide that has a form on it. And if you want, I know we covered some topics today that are, that are big topics that take a lot of thinking about, and isn't, just some simple little new feature in Teams. And so what I want to do is offer y'all up, if you want me to follow up with y'all about either the Teams phone or about the texting, then if you can either go to this URL, the Texas Teams follow-up, or you can just scan this QR code. And now with the pandemic, we all know how to use QR codes, and just fill out the form. It's some form, and it just asks which do you want to be followed up with, and you can select all of the above. It also gives you an option for other, like if there was something else that maybe you wanted some more information on, then you can put that in there. I did leave a little box, like if there's something that you wanted us to do differently on the Texas Teams community, you can add that, but that's not required field. The other, it's just like your name, first and last name, and your email address. And then what I'll do is I'll take a look at those and I'll follow up with you, and then we can bring in some expertise. So I want to be super clear that the texting capability for that Stacy was showing is not something that's included with Teams. This is a third-party company called Approved Contact. No, wait, Approved Contact, right, Stacy?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Every time I say that, I just think it just doesn't quite sound right to me. But they've worked with a lot of our customers for years, and so we rolled this out in California quite some time ago. Stacy's doing great work in Florida, and I want to bring these capabilities to y'all here in Texas. And so this is a trusted partner of ours. As Stacy said, it is available in the App Store so that you can actually, your agency and your administrators can procure it through that. But if you want more information, then there's a gentleman that works with Approved Contact named Darren Worth. And again, someone we've been working with for years, who is happy to provide demos, technical guidance. They've worked with a whole bunch of scenarios, so they can also kind of help you with ideation on how you might use that. And I know a lot of you have a lot of citizen outreach. And as that example showed, young people, they don't want to email, they may not even have an email. Can you DM me in Snapchat? No, I can't DM you in Snapchat about our agency's benefits. But if you could text them, it might go a long way toward helping. And certainly with trying to find new candidates, anything we can do to streamline the process is a good thing. But I really want to say thank you to Stacy. When she told me about this, I was like, oh, this is so perfect. I could figure, I could spend a lot of time learning how to do this, but would you be willing to come on the Texas Teams community? So thank you, Stacy.
My pleasure. You have a great group here.
Yeah, I'm super blessed to have such an awesome group of people that attend month after month. And in February, we'll be starting year 3. So
wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to come up with a new theme. Yes, Mario. Mario's got his hands up.
Yeah, I had a question. I put it in the chat. But my question was about voice to text messaging and whether it's offered as part of the Teams effort. I mean, because I rarely text especially at red lights, I use the voice option a lot. And as we get to the elderly folks, I mean, it can be troublesome to text in a small field, and the voice option can be advantageous.
Yeah, I agree. That would be an interesting use case to solve for. I will have to check, though. I am not sure if it's going to be a part of what Approved Contact does or a part of what we in just Teams UI can do. But I'll do a little research and get back to Michael, and he can share with you the what we find.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Mario, there is the the dictate feature, so you can that's just part of Windows. And so if you were wanting to use the voice to text, because you can use your voice to dictate a message into the Teams window. And so if you use that, then you could dictate a message into the text window, because it's just a message box inside of Teams.
That's
using
right.
the approved contact app. And so by doing it that way, you could absolutely do a voice to text.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, you bet, Mario. Thank you for the question. Let me go to the chat here and look if we have other questions. Thanks, Chris. I love it. Okay, is there anyone else that has a question, or if you have a use case? Again, Staci's a lot further along working with customers on this than I am. Are there some things that you're thinking about for your agency that where you might be able to use this text feature, but you might have a question about it? If you do, we're happy to answer that now, or just fill out the form and I'll follow up with you.
I'll say we also owe them an intro to Angel anyway.
Yes, we do.
It
Absolutely.
seems like he's been withheld out of the meeting. Unfortunately, he wanted to be here, so I'm sure we'll have an opportunity. Maybe you can just bring him in to say, "This is Angel. This is who they were talking about."
He's actually presented before and been on and backed me up before on some technical topics, which we always bring him in. It's like he's our super smart guy. It's like, "Hey, Angel, can you back me up in this meeting?" So yeah. Well, then it looks like we don't have any questions. So I just want to say thank you. Just a great call. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Staci. Thanks, Mark, again, for being our partner on this meeting. And with that, we will officially end and adjourn the December Texas Teams Community Meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Outstanding. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye, guys.